Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's July 19th, but it's the wee hours of the morning. I haven't been able to sleep tonight. You know, sometimes you just something gets on your mind and you just can't let it go, and that was the case this time. You know, as I've said in so many of my videos, I could spend a lot of time talking about a lot of different things that are going on. You know, we've got this, interestingly, of course, the Malaysian plane that went down in Ukraine, and of course the missing one from 4 months ago that apparently they could never figure out where it went, but of course it went to Diego Garcia, at least for a time it was there, I'm certain of that. And, you know, it's a tragedy, and these types of things shouldn't happen. This is why war is so bad. The wrong people always get hurt. I mean, the civilians, you know, of all the military people that get killed or injured in war, normally hundreds of times more civilians get injured or killed, and it's all so silly and it's so wrong. But I was interested in McCain's thoughts. You know, he wants to hold them responsible, the Russians, and we're not even really sure who shot it down yet. You know how these provocations can work. You know, blame it on somebody else, like the sarin gas in Syria actually was done by the rebels, of course, and Prince Bandahar had something to do with it from Saudi Arabia. But be that as it may, McCain conveniently forgets that the U.S. shot down an Iranian jetliner back, I think it was flight 655, something like that, 855, something like that. You know, and gee, you know, maybe the U.S. should have been bombed for doing that, right? You know, this one-sided view of things it just goes on and on and on. Instead of trying to heal the world, they're always trying to destroy it, trying to divide it. So anyway, so I was laying there, I was thinking about McCain, and then it came to me that you know, there was a guy who caught my video called Indignation and put it up on his channel. This was over a year ago, probably, well, it was just before the Boston bombing last year. And he was known as Conservate Us Prime, Conservate US Prime. I'm not really sure how he ever said it either. And I know his name, but I'm not going to repeat it here. Just the fact that he put that up, and that's really when I started to get some views, was back then. And then of course the Boston bombing thing happened, and my analysis of that, which of course wasn't right on, I didn't know all the details, but it was pretty close, and it remains so to that day. And you can go back and look at those if you like. But I was thinking about that video of Indignation. I thought, you know, I need to re-upload that, and that's what this is. This is a re-upload of Indignation with a little introduction to it. And some of the information in Indignation, of course, is a year old now. You'll hear me talk about Rand Paul, talking about, you know, drones and some of those things that he was filibustering with last year. So pardon the fact that some of the news information is old, but it's still poignant even today. Look at my notes here. I bring up the Small Arms Treaty and things like that, and of course, if my memory serves me correctly now, that did not pass muster in our Senate, thank goodness. I might be wrong about that. Maybe I should have checked that before I went on here, but the point is that I talk about it in the video. And of course, this is long before Bundy, about people standing up to the government saying no more, this is it, no more. You know, yes, the county sheriffs, they should disarm most of the federal alphabet agencies in their counties, absolutely. I suppose there's some negotiation that should happen on some of it. But, you know, all of the federal agencies, if they have to go and do something, can be deputized by local sheriffs for the duration of the investigation or whatever. It shouldn't be the other way around where local police and sheriff's deputies get deputized, or whatever the heck they call it, when they work for the DEA or those types of things. That's going the wrong way. But at any rate, the point is, this is before Bundy, of course, and that's happened. So take that into consideration with some of the comments that I make in this older video. And I wanted to add that, I talk about Senator McCain in this. That's one of the reasons why Conservatus Prime put that up. But there was a little thing that I neglected to say in this video, and that is that McCain, for all of his pretense at being such a fantastic senator and all of that, his misconduct on the USS Forrestal, which was covered up pretty well, basically he fired his afterburners, if I'm using the term correctly. I'm not a pilot. On the deck of the USS Forrestal, which was an aircraft carrier, and because of him doing that, loaded munitions blew up and killed and injured a number of sailors and airmen, so and Navy personnel. So, and the fact that he's just done a lot of things. He has no business talking about anybody doing anything wrong. He's got more than enough that he needs to watch himself and try to fix himself before he finds fault in everybody else. And of course, all those pictures with the Syrian rebels who turned out to be Al-Qaeda, and of course ISIS now. We've given the Syrian rebels, Al-Qaeda, all these weapons, and now, they're saying, oh, hey, how come ISIS has U.S. weapons? Well, duh. We keep giving them to them. Don't you remember Benghazi? Don't you remember all the transfer of the weapons in Libya and in Syria? And I could go on and on and on. And the other thing I thought I better bring up is I mentioned the SPLC being used by the Department of Justice. Well, of course, the SPLC was dropped, at least formally, by the FBI here a few months ago. They're not using them anymore, but the FBI is only a sub department of the Department of Justice. So it might be the Department of Justice is still using them. Regardless, the SPLC is still active and causes no end of grief. They want to call, for instance, the people that stood up against the BLM domestic terrorists. And that's just not the case. A domestic terrorist isn't somebody, they've tried to label it this way, of course, and we all know it. If you stand for the Constitution, for personal liberty, if you're a Christian, if you are a Second Amendment supporter, a vet, then you're considered a domestic terrorist by definition, or that you're a likely domestic terrorist by definition. And as I mentioned before, I saw all this coming when I attended the Army Terrorism Counteraction course back in the mid-'80s. Been warning people about this ever since. But anyway, without further ado, please go ahead and watch this. I lose it a few times. I'm not calm in this by any way, shape, or form. But and it's been I know it's been taken off and used by lots of people on other sites, and all my videos can be done that way. That's fine. This one, though, I just feel like it's time to rattle the cage a little bit, rather than bringing up the news about what's going on, because as I said before, I can go on ad infinitum about pointing out what's happening every single day in this government, in this country, in the world, and occasionally I'll do that, but sometime just to get the basics of the generalities of where we should be, sometimes I think helps. So again, I'm a little probably a little saggy-eyed this morning, a little dark circles under my eyes. I have not gone to bed yet. I'll probably take a nap and then go upload this for you, and you'll see it sometime today, July 19th. Please watch this. Hello everyone. Hey, it's still April 2nd, but a couple things happened. I need to make sure I say something about it, I think. The first is, of course, if you don't know by now, you probably do, the UN adopted the Small Arms Treaty. And if you've done any research on this, don't believe the media that it's only about weapons being exchanged between nations or that type of thing. This actually attacks the Second Amendment directly, and there are people, of course, in our country, in our government, and in private corporations and nonprofit organizations, things like that, that are looking to really ramp this up. So just be aware that that's what's happened now. And you know, I've got to ask us all, and I know a lot of radio talk show hosts are doing this, conservatives, people like that. You know, you don't want to rebel against your government. You don't want to have it turn into something that's really nasty. But what do they think we're going to do? Do they think that we're just going to acquiesce, submit, lick their boots, when we know that in the long run what they're out to do is to incarcerate everyone in the country in one way or another, to give them poisons in the water and the food until they kill most of us? I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but if you look at the Club of Rome and all of this, where all of these things come from, you'll know that that's the end game. So we can't just sit back, sit down and take this, you know, sitting down. We can't do it. Our senators, our congressmen, our bureaucrats, the president, almost everyone is a traitor to the Constitution of the United States. Almost everyone. There are a few, there are a handful that stand out and try to do something. You know, Senator Rand Paul, he's a physician. So I notice what he's doing, and he knows better than to take on a fight he can't win. But, you know, he's trying to do a surgical thing. What stands in the way right now is some really bad stuff to this organism. Let's try to take this out. So he attacked the drone thing. Great. And I understand he's going to try to do the same thing on these moves on the Second Amendment. But these guys are a handful compared to all of the leeches and the diseased politicians that are out there, that are trying to make sure that you can't come after them for their criminality later. And that's what all this is about. They know that if they serve the masters at the top, these banksters and the people that control them, they think that they'll etch out a little place in this coming society for them. Well, you know what? When you know that you're doing something that's evil, or if you know that it's only for your benefit and no one else's, man, that's wrong. That's a sin. And as far as their oaths of office go, they are traitors. They are criminals. And this is wrong. Now, I got upset. But you know, the more I think about it, frankly, you know what I think about when I talk about somebody like that? I think about McCain. That Senator Jackass McCain. You know, he served in a POW camp. I don't know if you've ever looked at the history of that. But yes, he was in a POW camp. But you know what? He's a little slime ball. Because he's willing to put all of you into a place like that so that he can live high and mighty with the world elites. He's a traitor and he's a criminal and he's a little pussy. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what, McCain, why don't you and I go out? We're about the same age. Why don't we go out in a parking lot and just duke it out? Best man win. Because that's about where I am right now. You piece of shit. All of you guys are, and I'm losing my temper. I usually don't do it this bad. You know, they're continuing to go after vets, you know, all over the place, claiming that they have psychological problems merely because they complain about the government, or somebody else calls up and delivers an anonymous message. And without warrant, without any proof or evidence, they go in there, they commit these guys, and then, of course, when they get out showing that, hey, you know, there's nothing wrong with them, but then they have these big court costs, and they can't get their guns back. This is theft. This isn't the United States of America, not spelled with a C. This is America. America. Nazis, Stasi, communists, Marxists, Leninists, Maoists. And that's who these guys worship because, you know, I agree most of society is a bunch of shit walking around on two legs. Don't you think I know that? I was a cop. I was a military officer. You know, I've been out in the public. I know that probably half our population is shit. But you know what? They mirror the top buddies, and they see you guys doing all these things illegally, and they just figure, well, what the hell? Not only that, but, you know, you're letting these criminals in from all over the world. You know, our CIA traffics more drugs than anybody else in the entire world. Has the U.S. military protecting part of it in South America and over in the Golden Triangle, and of course in Afghanistan, the largest poppy fields in the world.
90% of the heroin comes from there. Opium. I'm just sick of it, you know? You guys are criminals in government, all of you. You know what? Power does corrupt. And I realize this. You know, probably if we had a revolution today and we got rid of everybody today, we'd probably have a decent government for maybe 10, 20 years, and then it'd all start over with, because that's the nature of man. So I'm not kidding myself. I'm not looking for a utopia. I'm just asking you to abide by the oath that you took. And you cops and you military people, you know, if all you're doing is following orders, you're no better than the Nazis at Nuremberg. No better. And if you're too stupid or choose to be ignorant, that's what ignore means, is to ignore. Ignorance means ignore. If you're ignoring your oath of office because it's simple, you just want to get your paycheck and do your job, or you want to be, you know, the great G.I. Joe or whatever, you know, if you're doing that without taking that oath seriously, you are not an American. You are a traitor too. You know, I just can't believe how stupid Americans are. I really lost it today. I really lost it. I want to confront all these traitors in government. Most of them deserve to be hung. At least imprisoned, arrested and imprisoned. Okay, you know what? This insurance, you know, anybody who understands how insurance works, and I'm not an insurance, you know, guy, but I understand that that's part of the banking system. Whether it's health insurance, car insurance, life insurance, whatever. You know, it's all part of the banking system. And you know what? Now they want to make you have insurance to have weapons. You're going to tell the very people that are enemies of this country where your weapons are? You know what? I know not what course others may take, but I'm going to say the same thing that Charlton Heston said. From my cold, dead hands, and no, I'm not buying your damned insurance. And anybody who does is a coward. And anybody that comes to someone's house to try to take their weapons from them, they deserve to get shot. And I don't care who they are. This is out of control. You police and you military, you're supporting the very people that are destroying the fabric of the Constitution of the United States. Actually, it's already destroyed. But you're going to come in here and you're going to enforce it? Come on, guys. We're soldiers. Okay? We're brothers in arms. Why are we on different sides of this line in the sand? Why? Are you just biding your time? Okay, if that's the case. But if you honestly, genuinely, in your heart and in your soul think that you're doing the right thing, you've got to really study the issues a lot more. You know, our forefathers bled and died, lost their families, lost their wives, lost their children, you know, lost their properties, lost their good names, and we're just all going to throw it away? Ever since Jesus Christ, you know, everybody thinks he was just a spiritual guy. That, you know, it's all about prayer and the Beatitudes on the Mount of Olives. I hate to tell you this, but Rome didn't crucify a guy for teaching the Beatitudes. He was killed for really one reason. Yeah, I've heard a lot of guys talking about it lately. He upset the money changers, the banksters of his time in the temple, and whipped them. All right? And he told the people, you know, everybody says, well, he said to pay the tax. No, he did not. If you read that story a little carefully, you'll know, first of all, where the money came from and then what it was. It wasn't about being good little citizen and paying tax to an illicit, illegal, criminal government. Jesus Christ was crucified because he was a political insurrectionist. Whether you like it or not, that's what they crucified people for. Not for Beatitudes, not for teaching good things, but for teaching the overthrow of the government, being in this world or the next. Jesus Christ was a liberator of the very first type. A true liberator of the spirit and the soul, because if they're not free, the body won't be. You got to know what you want before you can get it. And what we've got in America is not freedom anymore, ladies and gentlemen, not by a damn long shot. And it's getting worse every day. I'm going to say it again. You guys that are in the government, I know you're watching this. You better figure out who you're really working for, because you're on the wrong side. You may not think so now because you're getting a paycheck and you got this little authority you've got, you know. You think that it's really good. In the end, you know who the enemies kill first after they get what they want? The collaborators, buddies. The collaborators. Because they know they can't be trusted. They're the first ones after they take over that they eliminate. Study history. And you're not hearing that just from me. I'm a military guy. Okay? 28 years. I know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know who your real friends are, who support and defend the Constitution of the United States and are brothers in arms, then you're nothing but traitors. I've really beat that dead horse today. Foreign governments in power, foreign corporations, international banksters, you know, they've torn our country apart. Torn it apart. Southern Poverty Law Center, that piece of shit, who the Justice Department pays to give them the information. In other words, the Justice Department feeds it to them and then have them give it back to the Justice Department and say, oh, look at this intelligence information. No. Fast and Furious, Holder and Obama both ought to be in prison right now. Waco, Ruby Ridge. Am I a Timothy McVeigh? No. You made him. You guys in the intelligence community made him and used him. Because no red-blooded American is going to go kill innocents. All right? No one. If you see that happen in this country, you guys and your bosses did it. Not me and my friends. Not the guys that I bled with and trumped over mountains and deserts. Swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and my fellow citizens. And if you senators and congressmen, the president, you bureaucrats, all you guys, if you don't feel about this the way I do, then you don't deserve to be Americans. And as a matter of fact, you are not Americans. You are liars and deceivers like your father. I am my father's son. I know who my father is, and he's not yours. If you are of Abraham's seed, you will do the works of Abraham. And if you do not the works of Abraham, you are of your father, the devil, the liar from the beginning, who loves and makes a lie. And that's not a religious statement. That's a statement of fact, of history. It's time to stand up. Men out there, it's time to stand up. It's time to say no more. No more of this. And women, you're good men out there that are, and there are good women too, but you know how I feel about women getting involved in these things. They're there for other reasons, to help the children, to back up the men. I know that sounds incredibly ridiculous, but that's what this thing was designed to do. Whether you like it or not, I don't care what Gloria Steinem said or any of those other people that just wanted to destroy you under some pretense of equality. This is mankind we're talking about, not our little prissy pussyfoot wants. You good women out there need to stand behind your husbands that are trying to do something here. I know what it's like to be abandoned by people that don't want to listen. A good man needs a good woman behind him. It gives him inspiration. He'll lay his life down for you. Come on, Americans, wake up. And again, I'm talking to the choir probably. My channel isn't very big here. I do this more as a proof of my position on these matters, so no one will say that you were silent, Roy. Why didn't you speak up? I have for 30 years. God bless you all and wake up. Help those who are trying to, turn this thing around. It's like I said, I know it's too late. That sounds kind of anticlimactic and kind of stupid, but I know it's too late. But we need to have those like-minded people around us, and we still need to make the testimony against the leaders of this nation. We need to sound this from the housetops, day in and day out. And may those of you who are of my family, may our Father look upon us and bless us and bring us again into His presence. Good day.